Hey guys, so how we doing? Let's edit my YouTube title. I just realized it's the same. PoB Day. And why my stream is titled PoB Day is because today we're going to be doing a lot of PoB. We have two things to PoB. Two things. We want to PoB a low budget setup for syndicate operatives to see how viable it is low budget. And we want to PoB an armor stacker AG setup, which will likely be my next build. Now, before we do any of that though, I do want to show this current setup as it is. I'm not going to invest much more into it, but I do think there's potential here. I just don't like the performance I'm getting for the investment, if that makes sense. What do I mean? It's really good for what it does. It's a pretty chill playstyle. You start a map, you have Giga explode, you're building Valor, and life is chill. You don't have charges when you initially start a map, but I think that's okay. And all you're going to be doing is when you run out of range for your current banner, you're going to click your next banner, basically. Or at least when you get enemies, you're going to click your next banner, not necessarily immediately, because if you do it immediately, then what might happen is you might not have enough valor for your next, like you have to cap out and maintain your charges. But like valor wise, the changes we made yesterday at the end of stream, let's see if I live through this. Woo. Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh god, I did a big no-no. You don't want to deactivate your banners, you want to run out of range, so you actually get valor back, which I think is just honestly clunk. That I don't think should be a thing, but it's just a thing for the sake of probably being a thing. I don't fully understand why it's a thing, but my internet is acting up. And we're back. All right, I don't really fully understand why it's a thing myself. It's just a thing where it's like, oh, you can't run out, you can't pick up your banner and gain the valor back. No, big no, you have to run out and come back in. Like, bruh, really? Maybe it's some limitation of the system. I don't know if it is. I feel like I doubt it is, but you know. But yeah, this setup it's only 2k live, and it looks like it's supposed to be squishy, but it's actually not. We have giga survivability. We're max on spell suppressed technically whenever our banner is down, and it's always down. Max valor, so we are way overcapped on that. We should have more life than this version. I just haven't actually put in the points to have said life up. What am I missing? I want more life is what I'm missing, I think. Would like this, would like life there. Which is more important to me, the renewal for the chance to deal double damage? I think that is more important to me. So yes, we'll be going for it. But yeah, in terms of like how the build feels, it feels good. It actually feels way better with the AG version than it did without an AG, ironically. I can't say single target is obvious. I think worse with the AG version, but I think it's to be expected when you go from having 9 DPS minions to having 4 to 5. That is not to say we don't have single target, it's just not as good. That's how good it was before. I don't know that I see there being a level of investment that you get back to those, to like how insane it actually is with, you know, I don't think you get back to those levels of single target. So I think it's a case of, if you want to have a bossa, you can make this into a, you can make these minions into a bossa, and if you want them to be clear, you can have a very effective clear situation, but you can't have both, or at least not with this double damage scaling. I feel like the double damage scaling has some awkwardness to it as well. I know there's definitely ways to make it by just scaling minion life as a witch. Sure. I just need to make sure I don't take cannot regen or reduce recovery rates. That'd be true. But that's what the build feels like, at least in terms of clear. Feels really chill. It's a very comfortable experience. I have mixed feelings about it. Like I said, I don't think performance per currency spent, I don't think it's been worth it compared to like syndicate operatives and registered filers. I don't feel that way. However, I also acknowledged that I have spent more currency than the build probably is worth, simply because I have spent more fiddling around with multiple different variations of this same setup, and because I've been fiddling around with the different variations, you know, I've had to buy and spend currency on things that just don't matter. Example of this is Fireborn Witchbane. I don't need it, but it was important for the last version or the last PoB, just to see if I could use that to solve clear. So it's probably slightly cheaper than I have in mind, as like this is how much it cost me. But it ooh, Dupe Divines, I'll take it. But anyways, it does, this version also does have a pretty expensive AG, which is why I still don't think it's really worth the investment. You can make a less expensive AG. I went overkill in hopes that it would make the single targets come close to like how it was before, and I think that is where that feeling I said comes from, of it not being worth the investment, because the single target is not to that degree. It is good, it's just not to the degree that it was before the change. And keep in mind, before the change I wasn't using awakening gems. Now I actually have gotten my awakening gems from my main character. So like there were still a lot of things that I hadn't done on that version to min-max its single target DPS, which kind of just shows how much of a difference it really is. That being said, these kind of movement speed bonuses when you have acceleration shrine just feel really nice, especially without like Quicksilver. realistically, one of the next things I'm meant to do to meet up with the PoB version of this setup is good chance to avoid stuns so I can be more defensively sound, at least when it comes to regen. I also look-y want to try stack deck farm with this, so there is the possibility that I repurpose this character into a stack deck farming character because explode is really good for that. So that is content it would really shine with, and if that is what you plan to do, then 100% recommend. I'm not the biggest fan of clicking as many times as is needed, so I don't particularly I'm not in particularly any bit of a rush to get this character farm to get is an atlas tree with stack decks and all of that. Anyways, so now for what I actually wanted to do, there's two POBs. Like I said, there's the armor stacker and there's going to be syndicate operatives. Let's start with syndicate operatives because I already have a good idea for where I wanted. They are obviously both marauders. Syndicate operatives, low budget. Let's see how well we can make this. To start things off, it's going to be the same concept. So it's going to be an eternal apple setup with double res rings with minimum endurance charges. It's going to be life based, not ES based. Could be hybrid, but can't guarantee that. And you're going to have minimum endurance charges, both of them, so that you would then get the loop going. A mandatory thing is enduring composure, and then of course the goal is going to be Darkness Enthroned. The goal is going to be level 95, I think. Oh wait, we can't stack endurance charges on this setup. We can't block. But this area just stops here. Part of the goal of this setup is to get as many sockets as possible. And the goal of these sockets would be Abyss Jewel, Ghastly Eye Jewels, and I think what we're going for is Minion phase is definitely the priority in everything. Ray Spectre. Greater multiple projectiles. This setup is a Wraith Lord setup because Wraith Lord at current prices is quite cheap. So that would be 4 Spectres with one of them coming from, with 4 of them coming from the helmet, so 8. I think we'll have 8. We don't have the shield, we don't have the chest. Yeah, we have 8. All right. GMP. And they are going syndicate operatives with police secret daggers. We probably wouldn't minion damage this early, and we have no reason to particularly go for we don't have to go for cold converts. I don't think in a low budget it matters which convert we go for. I don't think it really matters. Large cluster, we go for 8 passive, minion damage. The minion damage should have Feasting Fiends, Renewal. The reason we go for Feasting Fiends Renewal is because we want to give them a source of leech. We want to give them a source of leech. Offering effect. Actually, I mean, yeah, this should be there. I don't know if this should be the same kind of cluster. I haven't decided on that yet. Or if I should be going for life instead. Not entirely sure. But the more leech, the better. Then past that, we want a medium cluster jewel stacked to a degree. And we're going for minion life. We're also going for renewal here. So they will have a good chunk of renewal is probably the only requirement. I don't want to go for double of this because I need 4 medium clusters. Hulking corpses is the 25 and make it 4 passives. I don't know how expensive this would be. I have to price check it, and if it's expensive, it won't be expensive, but it's probably slightly more than low budget would allow. So it is just something we need to consider. Maybe some of them should be renewal, some of them should be hulking corpses, and that's how we balance them. I think that is the play. What up, Dragon? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Oh wait, one of these is wrong. It shouldn't be that. It should be medium cluster exerted attacks. And at the very least, I mean, no, we go for these two. We want the onslaught. Oh god. We want the onslaught and damage. Yeah. All right. This is the cap for points I will use, 95. Because like I said, I think for a lowish budget setup, we don't want to go more than 45 or 95 for levels. We're shifting, so we're going to be doing this and this and this, as well as Katarina. Or this guy. I guess low budget might not have access to Katarina. If you don't have access to Katarina, I mean, this is the closest thing you can do for just more strength skill in ball. Hmm. I'm missing these points though. These are important points for me. Do you have anywhere I can save up on some points? No. I also need to decide what exactly I want to convert their damage to. I'm going to use a triad's grip, but here's the thing: we can either convert to fire or we can convert to cold or lightning. I think everything is fair game at this stage of investment. Lightning has the added advantage of being of Perco's tool, which you can use for lucky. They are also attack specters, so you can use stuff like volatility. Yeah, I think lightning is the way to go, simply just because 4 blue is way easier to come by than 4 green, and I don't want to waste sockets. Volatility. Okay, I know these ghastly eye jewels are cheap, but this is actually quite a bit of currency to spend. Maybe I want to make the largest cheaper, or at least one of them. I could spare one of them being cheaper. Let's say 21-0. Nah, 2020 is... How much is it? 21-0? 21-0 should be very cheap right now. 21-0 or 2020? Let's go 21-0. Fuck it. Vicious Proj is very good for them. Minion damage it is. All right. We don't really have support specters in this setup, and for 8 of them, if we're going to be going with the 8 number, it'll be 8 times 3, which is 24. So we're up to 600k DPS. I kind of want to jump some more points because this is 30% Warcry buff effects. This is 45%. So for all these points, we're getting 45, whereas we could just get 3 points and it's 30. Slightly more, but we spend more points getting here. And not to mention, I did also want to... You were down to 91. I want to go for life mastery. nice too. Kind of knew I would need one more. That one more has to be like here. Which means I need to drop 5 more. Oh wait, what am I doing? I'm trolling. There. I need to drop 3 points from somewhere. Need to figure out where. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. So that's 1 point too many. I'll figure out the everything else regarding the where I'll get that point from just in a bit. But now give me a second. I think this is fine. All right, we have a good amount of life. We have a good amount of the things we want to scale. We don't have that much increased armor, but for that we're going to rely on probably a flask or something. Then for our chest piece, we're going to go for a cloak of flame, I think, because it doesn't have any life modifiers, correct? What is the life modifier it has? Oh wait, no, it does have a life modifier. It doesn't have a life modifier, which is why it's fine. It doesn't reduce my life because I didn't have a chest piece, so the 15% increased life was already active and it would have been otherwise. Chilling right now, went back to Absolution, thought I could make Syndicate Operatives work without Midload, but it's quite squishy for my liking. Hopefully with something comes out of this PoB. That is kind of the goal of what I'm aiming for here, at least. Boots. What is the name of those low budget boots again? Bones of Uller. And Perquil's toe. With death attunement. It feels so weird making a PoB this low budgets at this stage of the league. But that is fine. I don't like how many uniques I'm already using, so I think I'm going to drop Bones of Valor. That being said, we're going for a 21-0 so we can get to level 25 Spectres. And we're still at 24, but a +1/1 should be able to get me there. Convening Wand. +1 all minion and minion damage with trigger. I tried to go with that CI setup in which with the CI setup in which is a no-go, especially without Katarina and all. The CI setup I made is very reliant on a few things. Bone Meld makes it very good. Katarina makes it very good. Mage Blood allows you to scale a lot of armor alongside your ES. And there's a lot of things going for it there. But with if you don't have a Mage Blood, then your armor falls. You still get a decent amount. I think you get like 18 to 20k armor, which is still decent. But you don't get to like 45k, 50k armor without a mage blood. What else do you lose? Without a mage blood, your max res is also not reaching quite as high as with one. Do we actually go Eternal Apple? Without going Eternal Apple, there's no point in being a chieftain. Just straight up. Unless the goal is to put a war cry on left click, which is, you know, an option, but not great. I don't think we can cap chaos res on a loop on this setup unless we want to drop. Wait, we're level 21. We have 2 coming from here and we have 1 coming from here. Where the fuck? And we have 1 coming from... Why are we not 25? We should be 25. Yeah, we're 25. Okay. I was so confused for a second. Basalt, granite, quicksilver, quartz. Suffix wise, we have armor, movement speed, armor, regen. We just remove this one of the armors and we go for block recovery. Then we go for Brine King and Broad Call. Aura wise, we are going Purity of Fire, so we can actually still get to decent max fires. And probably Purity of Elements. And then Life Flask. You only ever design stuff for lower budget, and if it plateaus, so be it. I have two. There are 2 ways I design stuff. I either go into a lot of detail on the lower budgets, like I do for a league start scenario, so there's a progression path for a build, or I go straight into the high budgets, and this is specifically for setups where I question if it's viable, you know. So I don't want to go through the efforts of making a fine-tuned leveling plan and then have the high budgets be underwhelming. Like a good example is, I mean, so sometimes the setups work, sometimes they don't. It's just the nature of fiddling with off meta stuff. It's just the nature, right? Some you win some, you lose some. An example is like towards the end of last season, I made an Infernal Legion AG. And while that build was quite ahead of its time, because you could probably make something better this league with Necromantic Aegis and Fireborn Ratpit, and I mean double and Fireborn Ratpit twice or whatever. While that is something you can do, that setup was fun, but it never really took off defensively in a way that I enjoyed, so I never made a build out of it. But if I went through the painstaking moments or effort of making that lower budget for that and that happened, it would be very discouraging. So I like making sure things are viable on the high end, and then I work my way backwards. And for something like Syndicate Operatives, I just didn't see them being viable on the lower budget simply because of the nature of how they scale and what their base numbers look like. However, we are going to be trying to see if we can get them to be decent on the lower budgets. We need 2 grafts here. We're not scaling crits, so we're not going for brittle. But what we are doing is we're going for replicating. And the only mod we care about is minion damage. Where the fuck is minion damage? And then we're going for a different edge graft. Maybe Jolton. Is there an edge graft that has minion attack speed implicit? No. Okay, is Storming the one that has... I think this is the one that has flat damage as well as lucky. I will check though. We said Storming. Oh, beautiful. I still have this page open. Storming. Yeah, Storming is actually good. Okay, so we go Storming with minion damage all the same. Yeah, minion damage is still the most important stat we have. We're going to rely on Storming for our single target, lucky. So we can actually drop Percosto is what that means. But then if we drop Percosto for Bone Meld, then we can drop Bones of Valor, and that makes it more comfortable to... With that setup, it becomes more comfortable to cap res, and I really like that. Wait, my res is capped actually, but we need more chaos res. We don't have chaos res. Sure. Bone Meld. Anoint Death Attunement. Save. And then what do we do about... It says I have, yeah, +4 to maximum number of specters there, and this is Rate Lord. Still kind of addicted to Hearts of Flame graph. I mean, Heart of Flame is really good. It's one of my favorite graphs of the league. It's actually so goated. Now that I remember, this does need Enduring Composure, which means we are 2 points too many at this point. Which means we need to drop a set of 2 points somewhere. Now, where is that somewhere going to be is the question. Realistically, I think one of these just have to give. We drop a renewal or the path up here, I think. Okay, and then for graphs, nearby allies. Where's Percosto? So we have Lucky. And how much is the hit from Storming? I'm not going to calculate the hit from Storming, but how much flat damage does it provide? Nearby allies have 21 to 338 added lightning damage. What does the level 30 Wraith in Lights actually do? Because it's level 30 we get. It's 16 to 245. 16 to 245. All right. Storming Graft. And then the enemy is shocked for, I think it's 15 baseline. I think. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Then as for, we have conductivity. Desecrate. Flesh offering. This is in, let's say, boots. This and gloves. Actually, let's put purity of elements in here and let's remove it from here. Any one of blue can go here. Convocation. Frost blank. All right, where were we? So that takes care of my gloves. Now, what other auras do we care for? We have a bit of leeway. I'm thinking flesh and stone. If I can fit a 25% aura, what do I want it to be? What do I want my 25% aura to be? And did I ever settle those 2 points? I did. Where did I remove points from? Where was the place? Oh, it was from here. I just remembered. I guess I could go non-trigger one and just rely on Arcanist brand for the trigger setup, because it's Arcanist brand. You know, it has desecrate, it can't be in gloves, but Arcanist brand desecrate, so that'll have to be some other conductivity, yada yada yada. Offhand should be shield charge. Because this uses a one, not can't leap slam. Actually, offhand should be war cry, so enduring cry. No rallying cry. I don't want to skill crit. I don't think Battle Mage's cry is a play. Inferno? No. Intimidating cry. It's free movement speed and it's also intimidates. Maybe I drop Intimidating Cry for Ancestral Cry. It'd be a very nice boost to my max res and just res skilling in general. With that, I can now swap my rings to having Chaos Res instead. And that caps me on all res. We still have 8-7 max res. These are carrying out defensive abilities, while our offensives are being carried by other sources. And keep in mind, this is good damage for the investments. We have a good chunk of like ghastly eye jewels, but this is very good actually. Way better than I expected. Now for minion survivability, because that is now the next one of contention. What can we, how tanky are they, or how squishy are they? This could use work. They do have Chaos Res coming from, they have Chaos Res coming from me, and of course they have the cries to help. They have decent regen, but with our Enduring Cry, they don't actually have too much regen, which I don't particularly like. It makes me think, instead of trying to... Okay, so when they're on full life, it's good DPS. It's really good DPS when they're on full life. They have Leech. They have... I might go for this renewal when this renewal is right there. Saves me 0.2. Now this makes me think, should I replace Hulking Corpses with Dread March? $50, 200, 277, 60, 180, 112. So this with Dread March, it's way better, but Ellie becomes worse. But with Hulking Corpses, Ellie is better, Fizz is way worse, and I think minion damage just has to go. I don't think it's an option. I wish it was. It isn't. Okay, cool. And then instead of Dread March, we still go Hulking Corpses. Nearby enemies deal 10%. Taunt is 10% less damage, right? So I should confirm. Pretty sure it's 10%, or it could be 15, but I'm not entirely sure. Because with Hulking Corpses, my minions have a chance to taunt. 10%. Okay, it's 10%, not 15. Let me make sure this is working. The reason I'm going to leave this off is because right now, above all else, my minion survivability is the question, you know? If I have my basalt and granite, my fizz maxed is rough. We use 2 endurance charges at all times. We have no fortify. Enemy is not covered in ash or anything of the sort. Blinded. Warcry is used recently. 2, I guess. Yes, we've used 1. We are not in fact unconsecrated. We have 8. Oh, it didn't actually affect my shit. All right, 8. Non-val summon minions, which means I need more chaos res. The good news is we planned on dropping Bones of Valor anyways. So now that we drop Bones, we can go for Armor ES boots. Or even just pure armor. We're going movement speed. We're going chaos res. We're going life. We're going fire res. We're going life. And this is actually achievable this league. And even the fire res doesn't really have to be great. It just has to exist. Eta World Sierra Exarch, add implicit. Eta can have some war cry effects. We can go ancestral cry. All right, it hits max fire res. Actually crazy just how high we are on fire res just by being chieftain. Like we're already 88, 4k life. I want to improve this fizz max hit. How can I do that? Dropping a bone meld would obviously help, but that creates its own set of problems. Like if I had to go for a Jinx Juju, that would work until it doesn't. Sand Stance, that helps. Clarity. We need a bit of int and we need a bit of dex. Int is a bigger priority here. The rings. I detect accents. Mine asking South African, Kenya. Neither. I'm from Nigeria, but my accent is not pure Nigerian at this point. My accent is actually a mix of like Nigeria and Canada or Canadian. Dex Jewel. And they're going to reduce the phase coming from here. I didn't say all the way, just some. To make it more affordable, and then we're going to hit it with we need one more dex source. Cool. That resolves all the issues. Total of how much phase max hit is good. I heard like 10k just for Mino Slams is a good benchmark. I don't have a benchmark for like Mino Slams because things like Mino Slams are in maps, and because they're in maps, they can have modifiers that make 10k kill you and vice versa. 10k be fine. I would say, I personally think for most content you're doing, if you can hit 20k phase max it, you're chilling. 10k is okay for like a low budget, but if you've spent currency, you typically want to be around 15 to 25k mark. If you can hit 25k, you're actually comfortable. If you can hit if you can't and you're at 15k, know that you can die to phase, but you need, if your sustain is good, if your life regen is good, then you should be fine. If your recovery is up to the task, then 10k, then 15k is good enough to not die to most phase hits. But if your recovery is on the weaker side, then there are some phase hits that will hit you and leave you low enough for something else to clip you before you can recover. So that is kind of what I like. I like to get to 20k, 25k once I'm on like a spend currency budget. But this is not a high budget, so I can't be too picky on this number. I think this is fine. There is one thing I would like to add, which is the warp rune crafts, but I think this is fine. 3.5 mil DPS, and the entirety of this setup should cost you, well, it depends on how much the clusters are, but the cluster should be giga cheap. Ghastly, minion, brother, min fizz 30. Like, if this is the only modifier we care about, 910C. So we need quite a few of them, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And the moment you start going to just buy them, they are going to get up in price. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to reduce the fizz of this guy a bit, and this is 30. So 30 is pure T1, 25 to 35, like high rolls type situation. So I am going to reduce the roll range of this to like T2. we're like at the edge of T2 and T1. It's not that much of a DPS loss, but it's a lot more affordable now to just keep duplicating that modifier, especially if you want to get it with dexterity. So yeah, even at that, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. There's 13 jewels, so that's like a divine should get you that. So all the ghastly eye jewels are divine in total cost. The amulet is like 4C. Eternal apple is free. Convening one at this stage of the league, this starts basically free. Rate Lord +2 only requirements basically free. Maybe 10C. This one is 6 in Cloak of Flame, so this might run you like 20C. This one is free as well, 4 blue. This is like the most expensive one, and this will run you like 15C in the current market simply because of breach. These guys will also be cheap. It's amethyst with chaos, so I want to say 10C. Probably cheaper, to be honest, but yeah, probably like 10C. Then this guy will be, I don't know what the current price of Darkness Enthroned is, but I do have a Darkness Enthroned I could just use to price check, I hope. Belt. I have a 90. Brother, where's my Darkness? Does Arcane have my Darkness Enthroned? I think Arcane might have my Darkness Enthroned. He probably took it for leveling. Not sure. Maybe on that character. I currently do not have characters that have belts, because my last character I was using the mage blood I'm currently using, so and it's here, and the one before that was the one that bought the mage blood, so it's still here. So like I have two beltless characters right now. I don't know how their pants are staying up, but power to them. Either way, I could just price check. It doesn't matter too much. Clear. Darkness Enthroned. Close that. 90. Yeah, and that's 30C, 35. So yeah. So all the gases run you a divine. The Rate Lord, Eternal Apple run you a few chaos. The convenient one run you less than a divine. 6-link Trad Grip might end up costing you, if you want a decent fire res roll, which we don't need, but is very nice for res. It might run you, I want to say, if you want to be pessimistic, let's say a divine. It shouldn't be up to. These guys will cost you a few chaos. The larges are like my biggest concern. Feasting Fiends Renewal. Those guys might actually be currency. Might. Not entirely sure. It's a might situation there. Feasting Fiends Renewal. Adds 8 passives. They are 20C. Oh, they are 20C and stable. Okay. So that's another 40C. So I want to say, so it's a chaos for the divine for all the ghastlies. For all these small items, we give them a divine as well, so that's 2D total. And then by the time you get your darkness enthroned and the large clusters, let's say that's another divine, including the tattoo, of course, not tattoo, anoint. Total this build is like 3D 40 if you want to be pessimistic and say and giga overprice everything. But yeah, 3D 40, you have a almost 4 mil DPS setup with Syndicate Operatives. I'm never entirely sure I fully configured this PoB because your minions have onslaughts, intimidate, they have shock from your graft, they have lucky. What is their survivability like again? Actually pretty decent. They will die to chaos. That I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it unless we were to path here, anoint this. That would keep them alive a lot more efficiently, but I just don't see how we spare the points for it. I basically don't see how we spare points for it. A 1,000 life regen while our flasks are up is also pretty chill. Yeah, I think this is fine. Now let's just go through our links, make sure we have 4 sockets everywhere. We don't have 4 sockets here. What do we need here? What should be the last guy? This one can be on life tap to make it comfy. And then this one should have shield charge. All right. I think this is fine. That being said, I should test something. This is 100k DPS. What about you? Yeah, that's more damage. Speaking of pen, where's our curse? Here. Conductivity. Oh yeah, we're missing one config, and that is the config that counters vicious proj, because vicious proj does not actually affect syndicate operatives with the less projectile speed modifier, something like that. And the reason it doesn't affect syndicate operatives is because syndicate operatives use a non-projectile attack, which then triggers the daggers, so they don't actually get the less projectile attack speed, but PoB thinks they do. So we use that more modifier here to counter it, so it ends up being net neutral. So man, this -10 and this 11 counter each other to just have the base 20% more from their skill, if that makes sense. So that is why that is there. We can use early focus too. We can go early focus and stuff, early damage with attacks, and we're fine, because unlike the Awakened variants. Unlike the Awakened variants, it doesn't provide immunity, but it's the same as Focus, so it doesn't really matter. It does not matter. So between the leech they have from Feasting Fiends, the regen they have from Renewal and slight double damage chance, the Onslaught from Lead by Example, honestly, warning call is very negligible. We don't need it. So we can go to the exerted attacks. Switch warning call to maybe live. And we end up at level 95. Like we always intended to. What if we were to remove 3 of these? 1, 2, 3. And instead give them frenzy charges. Slight DPS gain. The problem with that is there's a ramp up to the frenzy charges, and I'm not a big fan of it. And I think at this stage of the game, you probably want to use Greater Volley instead of GMP. That being said, there is a reference material I like checking. Where is it?
Maybe we put it to bed. And we can game all night.
Lol. Are you my Darkness Enthroned?
What? No?
The belt?
No, how the hell your Darkness Enthroned?
Because you'd use it to level?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Get the level.
Yeah, the belts.
No, I didn't.
Jewel belts.
No, I didn't take it from you.
Okay.
Really, a new build today?
Am I rolling?
Yeah.
I'm not rolling a new build today, but I am PoBing the low budget for Syndicate Operatives. And yeah, I went all the way low budget.
How low? 10?
3D.
No,
340.
million.
3 divines. How
much damage is it?
4.6. That's a good low budget damage points.
Really?
Yeah, low budgets. This is based on current league prices, not necessarily league start prices. So
I mean, fair, and you probably only get cheaper.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just making this video based on comments I've received recently on the build.
Basically, this is low budget. We can do medium budget where we actually use rallying cry and stuff like that, where we actually increase the budget and that number goes up. And it's the build path essentially. It's, you know, this isn't dirt cheap, fresh into the campaign, into end game budget, but it's I want to reroll, but I'm very broke. How do I do it?
I think it's a good idea, and I think after that you should definitely come up with another edit post. Send it to me before you send it, though. I want to help you with it. Your writing skills are not the most.
Lol.
And I'm not a good writer either, but I want to, like, I can show you like we can look at other posts that popped off, right, and see what you can do to win people.
I mean, it's a few things. I don't think the writing is necessarily even the biggest holder in the case of like the Reddit post for the last one, simply because I've written less.
Timing too, right?
I've written less and gotten more views. It's
just timing.
Yeah, it's timing, and I mean, realistically, anything that gets released after next week's announcement is just into the void. Just putting it out there as well.
I just want to just sow the seed so people remember who you are. That's my goal.
That's fine. We'll figure it out. I will make a video for the low and medium budget though. I do like this low budget because like this low budget ends up at 88 max res. 88 max res. It has 45k early max hits, 21k chaos, and 10k fizz. It doesn't use anything outlandish. Everything is rare. The res have, I literally have, unlike my usual low budget, I actually have the res filled out just so I can see that I have enough, because it does use a bit of uniques, but it's a chieftain, so all you need is chaos res and fire res. It also uses defensive war cries fully, no offensive war cry, which is why the damage is not as high. Wait, why did the damage end up at 5.4? Where did 5.4? What is happening?
I love trolling, don't I? I love clicking the first
it's volley. Okay. Yeah, volley is fine.
First altar gives you, my bosses have 80 chaos res, and for some dumb reason I click that.
Lol. Why would you click that? We just had a conversation about that modifier.
And then Maven is in the map saying, "Take this vitality boom," and they're literally fully healing more.
All right, so I like there's a post I like referencing whenever I'm thinking about syndicate operatives and how much they overlap and what you should use. And it's basically just a post on the Minion Discord where somebody tested them with poison to see how many stacks they would apply at what do you call it, with and without extra proj. And their testing revealed that volley, LMP, GMP, GV all have around the same overlap when like you just need a source of extra proj basically, and you need a source of extra proj, and that's all basically. With extra proj, you're shotgunning to the max and you're basically winning. But if you don't have any source of extra proj, and your stacks or your number of overlaps per attack drops drastically, where if your enemy is it's closer, you're less likely to hit with multiple daggers. But then I think the further away, let me see, what is the distance in question here? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. When they are very close, I'll show the picture actually. When they're here at this area from the player, so very close, without extra proj, only one dagger hits, but with extra proj, two to three daggers hits. When they are this far away, then with extra proj, all of them hits. Without extra proj, 2 hits, 1 doesn't. And then here, without extra proj, 1 to 2 hits, and with extra proj, 3 hits. And it's pretty consistent. So that is a post I like referencing, just to make sure I'm not inflating any DPS for syndicate operatives at least. Yeah, we're at 5.3 mil at like a 3D budget. 88% max fire rate. I think this is pretty good. Now we don't have block. That is the one thing I would like to change, but there's nothing like I can't change that. We just don't have block. So that effectively means our EHP is kind of on the rougher side because we don't have block, but we do have life flask and we have almost 1k regen. So it's not like Jova. It's not like that bad, but you know, if you take enough damage, you will die. because you're not avoiding anything. In blue altars, if they barrage you in the wrong way, you just might respawn. But that's the price you pay for being on lower budgets, I think, for in PoE in general. But yeah, I think it is a pretty decent starter, and then I'll make a medium budget that is going to be more in between. It's going to be closer to the high budget. It's going to use more unique jewels and stuff like that, because this one doesn't use any unique jewels. Like it's just all flat physical damage from minions, no other modifier there, no life, no nothing. Because if I had to just even so much as add life to this in any capacity, this number is going up by quite a bit. 5k, now we're at 12k, phase max, yada yada yada. But that increases the budget of the build by an amount. I don't want to increase that budget, so we're taking the PoB numbers to keep the budget low. So yeah. But yeah, is the config fine? I think the configs are fine. 8, we're not on consecrated ground. We've been hit recently. I don't think there's any avoiding being hit. Enemy is intimidated. Is the enemy intimidated? No, the enemy is no longer intimidated because we have no source of intimidate. We dropped intimidating cry. That being said, let me turn off more duration. Let me look at enduring cry. 5-second duration. What is its cooldown? 4.2. Yeah, more duration is helpful, especially when you're using defensive cries. Yeah, I think it's very needed. Either that or you go room raft to the warp. Either or. I have half a mind to go room raft to the warp and go for a third cry though. Warp is like 30C. With warp, we no longer need more duration, and we can go for what cry. Rallying is a few more. It's like 300k, which is intimidating cries intimidates. Battle Mage's cry is ass because we're not scaling crits. I think we just go intimidating cry. It gives us movement speed, it gives us comfort. I think that asks for, or it means something. And that gives us some damage and gives us a lot of movement speed. Just by clicking it, we go from 56% to 28% movement speed to 56. So basically doubled the base movement speed I had from boots, which is really nice. Yeah, 5.3 mil DPS, not bad. Now the question would be LMP or G or volley, and to that I feel like volley is better. Claire would be slightly worse with volley, but I don't think it's by in such a notable degree that it's not worth it. Also volatility. I wanted to use volatility there, but because it's not a base lightning hit, it's just not the most necessary. It packs a punch when it comes to having lucky, but yeah, it's not the most necessary. And early focus is free because we're relying on something else for shock. We're relying on the graph for shock. $5.8 mil DPS with a 3-ish D budgets. That is way better than I thought it would be. The only problem with this setup is you're not fixing your survivability with this, unless maybe you go this. You drop 500k DPS, you pick up a bit more regen for yourself and for your operatives. That puts them at 103k chaos and 70k fizz. This would be a better experience, I guess. So we'll just keep that for now. It will be a better experience without, and they also have 13k life regen per second without your enduring cry. What does it fall to? 3k, still manageable. It's serviceable at least. All right, I think this is fine. I think this is a fine place to leave the low budgets. I think 5.3 is decent. I think the minions themselves are actually relatively tanky. They will die. There is no sugarcoating it. They will die. It's just, if you want to play syndicate operatives and you want that experience with their clear on a low budget, that is part of the price. Unless, and here's this is the big unless, if you play a certain kind of way, they actually wouldn't die. If you play on the slower side, they won't die. And what do I mean? If you actually make sure they actually eat your war cries, i.e. they are there when you war cry and the buffs hit them, then they won't die. You're fine, everything is dandy, you have no problems in the world. But, and there's a big but, if you let the war cry fall, you're gonna have some issues. So it's essentially a case of if the war cry never falls off of them, then you're not going to die even at this budget. But if they don't get hit by the war cry, then that's obviously not going to happen. They're going to be squishier while they don't have the buff, and that is prime time for them to potentially get killed. But that being said, I do think they should help them quite a bit. Jesus Christ, man. I was on the wrong side. Lol. I was on the wrong side. Shouldn't have been there. All right. We're going to post this on the spreadsheet. All right, we've made that change. Oh, we've added it to there. We don't have to worry too much about it. Next, let's look at the armor stacker. Before we start looking at the armor stacker, I want to get some water, so give me a quick second. All right. So before we get into this, let's talk a bit about the core of this idea. What exactly is the armor stacker I am referring to? What are we trying to do here? The idea is simple. We plan on using give me a second. We plan on using the replica Dream Feather as a weapon on an Animate Guardian to scale his damage. Yeah, replica Dream Feather has 1% increased attack damage per 450 armor. This means he's going to have a lot of hit damage, a lot of increased hit damage. And past that point, we want to give him a lot of like different more modifiers, like multipliers to that. So how do we do that? All right, I am done drinking my water. How do we do that? We are going to be scaling with a Fireborn unique. Now, if I can show you, it would be nice. It is going to be the Fireborn Lion Eyes Remorse. This guy has a line that says gain life as extra armor. This is, I don't know that where this modifier shows up in this game. If it shows up anywhere that PoB supports, it would be nice. I can just copy paste. Gain 1% life as extra energy shield. Maximum energy shield. I don't think this modifier is supported. In any case, the reason why this is going to be busted is because the Animate Guardian in general can get to a very large chunk of health, even without it being a... What is this crawler build? My current character, yeah. Where were we? The Animate Guardian can get to a lot of, yep, for 42 fortification. Animate Guardian traditionally can get to life numbers in the hundreds of thousands and higher. This effectively means that as a baseline, the AG is going to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of armor coming from that shield to then, which would then meet the Dream Feather and give it in turn a lot of damage, increased damage. And then from there, our job is to scale his flat damage, to scale his more damage, and to scale you know, those kind of sources, and give him complementary tools to help with his what do you call it, to help him go on his rampage, essentially. How do I like Crawler with Rigwald? It's pretty good. Think it's... Before I say that, let me actually test its single target, because I actually haven't tested its... But anyways, and the reason we're going chieftain is because of one reason. No, there's multiple. Firstly, we have a lot of increased damage, but the one thing that Replica Dream Feather does not have is flat damage. It has some flat damage, but it's not a lot. So we're going to need to stack a lot of increased damage. So this is going to kind of be like Syndicate Operatives, where we're going to be shoving him with all the increased, not necessarily phase, but increased damage he can fit. So this is going to include stuff like Rallying Cry for the flat phase. It's going to include stuff like even Phase as Extra is going to be pretty good on it. So like Infernal Cry is going to be really good for this setup. What else? We're going to be converting fully to lightning because it's Anime Guardian of Smiting. It's already like kind of lightning. We don't need Triad's Grip to convert. And then Adorned with flat phase, also going to be good flat damage. More is going to come from our, we're going to have more modifiers in the form of support gems, mostly. That is, and some double damage chance. We're going to actually try to have some renewals in there because double damage is nice to have. It's nothing insane, but it's nice to have. And then aside those, what else are we gonna have? We're also, I think I want to have Seismic Cry, which is a more damage, a more armor war cry, and that should also be a big multiplier to his damage. So we're going to be using the shield, a Skin of the Lords, Foulborn specifically, so that we get Ion Reflexes, so he can convert evasion to armor. Then we're going to have Link gameplay, but we're going to limit it to just him and one Spectre. Helmet wise, we're going to be life stacking, so we don't really, I don't think I'm going to go Hallowed Monarch. Hallowed Monarch would be very strong simply because we Hallowed Monarch. He can get modifiers like 50% Fizz as extra, lightning, cold, fire, and that would be huge damage multipliers. But single target wise, it isn't going to be great. And other than that, and that reason that I can't go Hallowed is because I can go the minion life stacking helmet. So if I can do that, sure, why not? And then for ascendancies, bloodlines, we're going to be going for, I think we're going to be going for Pharaohs and limiting to one Spectre realistically. You might wonder why, and this is simply if you want to do T17s, I really like the action speed cannot be lowered below base because he can't be petrified, we can't be petrified. It's going to be really nice. And then for the beast itself, we probably just use either a Guardian Turtle, I think it's a Guardian Turtle we're going to use, or I guess not, we don't have to, it depends. We can get Lucky Lightning from a Spectre, so do we really want to give up our Spectres? Because that Spectre is not a beast, so we can't even use this with that Spectre. So I'm heavily considering Pharaoh Bloodline, and there, of course, there's always this guy, which is just 80% increased damage, which is always nice. Or we can go Katarina. I'm going to have a shit ton of evasion and armor coming from auras, coming from flasks, all of that. So this is not a bad node, but actually it is, because we don't have that many Spectres. We have like 4 or 5 at best. Well, 50% increased defense is, when you have that much baseline, is still kind of decent. Realistically, it's probably a Pharaoh angle. All right, let's do this. What do I think? It has its pros, but it's also not the best bang for your buck in terms of efficiency. Am I streaming it? Yeah, but I'm POBing. All right, single targets. You guys saw it. Pretty chill. A lot to upgrade. We don't have +2 boots. We don't have our minion rings that should have increased minion damage. We are already lacking minion damage on this setup, so those rings are important. The boots are important. I am not scaling the build any further, but it has space to grow from where we're currently at. That is what I think anyways. That being said, I do want to see if do I think Celestial Brace is worth it? Yeah, I do. The bigger, the less damage. The singular less damage multi is, the stronger or the more efficient the DR for both you and them. Double damage is plus they already baseline converts, so you don't really need rare gloves or triads. Where were we? So that is the core of this idea. I kind of think I want to go lucky with specters because the Wrath aura is also nice, and I plan on doing other things. But all in all, all in due time, this is going to be the core. If I want to do T17s, then Pharaohs is kind of a no-brainer to have, just because it opens up so many modifiers that it's not even funny. Like, so many modifiers, and honestly we can just drop Lucky Lightning and just scale Fizz, because Fizz baseline doesn't have that much variation, even if it's Smite, because it's Fizz base and then converts 50% to Lightning. And so long as we're stacking flat Fizz, that shouldn't really change. But if we decide to stack Lightning, which would be done because we're going to use Fizz to Lightning support, I guess we could do it either way, but the weapon already has baseline Fizz, so might as well, so we don't worry about Fizz reflect. What build am I POBing? I am currently POBing an Armor Stacker AG Chieftain is the idea here. I don't know that PoB can simulate this Fireborn. I don't think it has support for Fireborns yet. Let me see. What is it? What is an obvious Fireborn? Midnight Bargain? It has no Fireborn. Yeah, it doesn't. Let's try to word for word it and let's hope it works, but I don't think it's going to of maximum. Oh shit, it works there. Okay, cool. Going to copy that, edit Fireborn, and replace this guy. I'm so confused. What does variant 1 mean? The fuck? I guess it's this one that I should be replacing. Implicitly, it can have up to 30 life. Corrupted with Probably increase life. All right. No. New. AG. Save. He gets that. He gets replica. Dream feather. I don't know if there's a good corrupt here. Probably just flats. More fizz. We're already going to have. He doesn't need that. 45 would be nice for him, but I feel like that would be expensive as well. Like there's decent corrupts. The best out of everything here is probably not even increased phase. It's probably AoE or 45. 45 makes him tankier, but he doesn't fucking need to be tankier, man. How about we just harvest enchant AoE, give him 5% increase AoE because it's 5%. Then for helmets, he's going to be using, what is the name of that helmet? Forbidden Flame? Not Forbidden Flame. Formless Inferno, Formless Flame. He's going to be using Formless Flame. I don't. Max power charges? Does he have a source of power charge gen? I don't know yet. It's possible we should give him max power charges. I think it makes sense to give him max power charges, but if all else fails, increase life. If I give him a source of power charges, which I kind of want to because it's free on this setup. Enduring Cry, Rallying Cry, and instead of Battle Mage's Cry, we give him Seismic Cry. Scaling crits would be nice, but it's not a requirement. Then Skin of the Lords, Skin of the Loyal, one of them. Skin of the Lords it is. Lords with Ion Reflexes. %100% increased global defenses is just really nice. It's a nice sprinkle on top. Then gloves will be rare. Rare gloves with Exarch Eta. Exarch will have non-val skills, hit 2 enemies. That is non-negotiable. Eta what does Eta have? What should Eta have? I don't plan on using anything like Doriani or something. Like I could, but I don't want to. So we could do lightning exposure, but I plan on giving him Awakened Lightning Pen anyways, so kind of defeats the purpose. I'll just give him leech. Lightning damage leech his life. And then as for the actual piece, probably just life regeneration rate and armor. Attack speed is also nice. Yeah, let's do attack speed. Attack speed. Flat fizz. Dude, that's just ass. Jesus Christ, man. Flat lightning, I guess. I don't know. They're ass. Just so bad. It's like, imagine a Ghastly Eye Jewel, but way worse is what this looks like. I feel like getting armor here would be inconsequential, but let's just craft it like we were crafting armor. that until increase armor and craft we already have increased armor, so we probably just craft hybrid flat armor and life. Pretty sure this works. Should I even go for Leviathan gauntlets or should I go for hybrid? Either way is fine. And then for boots, we're doing Legacy of Fury for the Scorch effect and explode chance, of course. Enemy Guardian of Smiting is going to use AG for smite. Does it calculate it properly? Yeah, it does. Okay. Okay, this is beautiful. All right, so it's going to, I'm assuming it's going to PoB properly because it's already an 87% increase, which is, we haven't started scaling yet. We haven't started scaling yet. Okay, but his shit is good. That reminds me, now for my gear, we're going to be going for Formless Inferno. I'm going to be corrupting this for, what do we care about? Go for a level of socketed gem, I think would be the smartest thing to do. I think so. But for now, we're going to leave it uncorrupted, just leave it as is. Formless Inferno. Then Bone Meld. This should reduce our damage temporarily while we figure out what else we're doing here. It increased it. Oh, levels, that's how. Sanctuary of Benevolence. So I don't forget that I actually need it. Corrupted, of course, to give me Determ aura effects, most likely. I've thought a lot about this, and I don't think I want to go eternal or elegant hubris. I don't want to go Balbala. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, yeah, I kind of don't really want to do that. There's a few reasons why I don't want to do it. It's a big source. It will be my timeless show, which means I'm going to be skipping out on getting something along the lines of what's his face? I'd be skipping out on, I forget the name of this shit. I would be skipping out on A2 flasks. I want 5 flasks, not 3. But B, I'd be skipping out on 80% minion life cluster or timeless. I think that is Elegance Hubris, and I'm skipping out on, actually no. One is Elegance Hubris, the other is Brutal Restraint. Elegant Hubris is the one I want. It is the one that would give me Axiom Warden, and I'm skipping out on Brutal Restraint, which is the one that has Balbala, the traitor. Yes, correct. All right, so I'm skipping out on Brutal Restraint for Elegant Hubris. No more confusions, right? The reason being, it's a lot of potential minion life I could be scaling, and it's by having extra flasks, I should have the phasing when I need it most, i.e. during clear. And for single targets, if I don't have perfect uptime, that is fine because I don't need phasing when I'm fighting bosses. However, it does mean that we will not have the armor and evasion that comes from flash during those moments. So I don't know how I'm going to reconcile this. I kind of want to, but we'll play around with both, I guess. Is probably what we're going to end up settling as. Realistically, if I go for flask gameplay and just have 3 flasks, what 3 flasks would it be? It would have to be, we have a lot of flat armor, so increased armor during effects with a basalt flask, a stibnite flask, and a quartz flask. So we have to get movement speed elsewhere. I don't know how we'd be getting movement speed in that case. I really don't. Plus, our impossible escape might be used for this cluster to make sure we can actually pick up like reduced charges used, as well as increased flask effects and stuff like that. So just for 100% uptime. I don't know. We'll have to see. Not sold on it. But those are the two ways we can go about doing this in any case. We're going for link gameplay, so that is going to be Hands of Freesia. I'm not really looking for corrupts right now, but I do want to increase the effect of non-curse auras. What auras are we looking at here? Looking at generosity in the awakened. We'll just put this in gloves just so I can visualize it. D-term, grace, which means I'm going to need more. This is another argument for elegance hubris, is I don't need to care about attributes. Dexterity won't be a problem. But anyways, these two are very, 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 very good. Wrath would obviously be good because flat damage, like I said, is something we're really starved for in this build. But realistically, it's purity of elements. I don't want to not have element immunity for him. So those 3 sources. Brother, why are you passing through there? All right, we'll just leave it at this. Then what next? Face the lightning, because I think it is important that we do full lightning damage. I think it's an wicked added lightning angle. It might get outclassed, and if it does, then good. If it doesn't, then it's fine. Now our goal is to get as much overcapped fire res as we can, which is why we're shifting, because by getting as much over, oh god, I need purity of fire. I don't know how we're going to do this then. I'm going to need purity of fire. Okay, I know what my helmet is going to be then. It's going to be a corrupt with reservation, because we're going to need as much of it as we can get. So now the question is, are we pathing here to pick this up, or are we pathing down here to pick this up? I think we're pathing here to pick this up, so we can also pick this up in the process. I think that's the play. We also need to pick this up, because I know that I'm probably going to need to anoint charisma for this setup. Here's a counterpoint to using this guy. This is 2 levels. It's good. It's not that great. We can throw res on it to get 60%, so they get even more res. At the end of the day, this amulet is going to give me 60, 40, 54 res to my minions, 54 fire res. 54 fire res while also removing some resistances. It's decent, right? The counterpoint is actually going alls uprising. By going alls uprising with something like Purity of Elements, I want to go Purity of Elements or Grace. Grace gives me evasion. D-term gives me armor, strength. I don't think I need strength though. And Purity of Elements gives me int. Out of everything, I probably need int and dex the most. So you see that Purity of Elements angle? This is crits. What is Grace again? Yeah, I think it's a Grace angle just because of this guy. We go Grace as the anoint. And then we slap it on here. That gives us a whole lot of reservation because now Grace doesn't need to care, right? That being said though, does that mean Grace doesn't benefit from Awakened Generosity? Because like it kind of defeats the purpose if it's in a 90% cost and reservation and it's getting free casts. In any case, someone else will have Purity of Fire. So Purity of Fire, and I think that should be it for auras I need. All right. Going to need Chaos Res. I don't think this amount of flat armor is doing too much for me because it's a decent amount of flat armor. It's going to be nothing compared to the shield. Is the biggest problem there. Anyways, Purity of Fire. What else do we need? We can go for like +1 Spectre chest and all these other things. Is there any other chests we care too much about? I don't think I actually want to use... Let me think about what I want to say. I don't want to actively skill evasion that hard on my character. The reason I don't skill evasion too hard is because I still require my shield to... I still need to get hits, essentially. If I don't get hits, I'm not going to proc my war cries. But I do plan on having Forbidden Right on my main hands, I guess. So there's that. My main hand, which is going to be trigger weapon, will have Forbidden Right, Desecrate, and we'll go Flesh Offering for now. I don't think I'm scaling crits, but if I end up scaling crit, then big, I guess. Conductivity. Drop that one for this one for now. I need a source of leech as well. But for now, this is okay. I don't think I need a 12 passive cluster unless I wanted to go for... If the plan was to go for attack speed, yes. However, that reminds me, I should give him multi-strike before I forget. Awakening minion damage is not a good multiplier for me. One, two, three, four. We'll put this one in for now. All right. Something like this. This is in body armor before I forget. I don't know how I forget, but boots are just going to be regular boots. In terms of length, we're going to have Ray Spectre. Now, this is going to be a point where I need to make a decision. Do I want one Spectre or do I want multiple? If I go one Spectre, then T70 mods become a non-issue. But I also miss out on the potential of potentially using like support Spectres, you know. I would miss out on using the Rat Aura from Spirit of Fortune. I'd miss out on potentially, maybe if I wanted to, I could go Haste or Hatred from Hydra. Actually, I probably wouldn't want to do that. But in any case, I miss out on charges. I think charges would be big for this setup, especially frenzy charges for the AG. No, I have onslaught. I will have onslaught. It's a Warcry build. I'll have onslaught. Who else is big? We're going lightning. We'll see. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking there's a decent precision guy could be decent, but that's crits. Pain artist is also crit, so that's not ideal. There really aren't too many good Spectres here. There's Spirit of Fortune. I'm not using Turtle because I already have D-Term Aura. I already have Grace Aura, so there's no need. Tiger would be really nice, but I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole because people believe. People are so misinformed on this Spectre that the price is as much as we see here. Oh my god! What the fuck?
Yeah?
No. The Tiger is now 43 divines. 44D for a fucking Forest Tiger. What is this?
There probably might just be something we don't know, right?
I don't think there is. People are just okay.
I
No.
don't know if that's the case anymore.
What do you mean you don't know if that's the case? We've had this conversation many times. You say they don't care about the attack speed. So that means they don't care about the frenzy charge attack speed. They don't care about the haste attack speed. Haste gives movement speed. They care about that one, but like frenzy charge gives more damage.
They
Yeah,
have
but like
frenzy charge uptime. Actually, wait, did they go blood rage?
frenzy charge is 4% more damage
It's
per
not.
charge.
I. Th-
But
I
like
mean, I
this
guess, but
3, so it's
I'm not gonna say
12%.
frenzy charge isn't much for them. But this is the most meta build in terms of like the amount of damage you get is insane. Like I don't think that's changing anyone's world for this build. I don't think that's making them pay that much.
43 divines is criminal, my guy. And it's only 1 of 42, 1 of 43, then the rest are just 44s. And then it quickly goes
That's insane.
45.
Let me go check. Perfect. I mean, it's also just probably Giga Rare, for being honest.
It is rare, and for being rare, like it's supposed to be expensive. Not fucking 45D. So like I'm not gonna use that, obviously, as you might imagine. So that is not a contender for one of my slots. So what are the specters we've thought about thus far? There is Spirit of Fortune. There is, I kind of want Naval Officer, but I don't want Naval Officer because I don't really care about crit enough to go for that. So Spirit of Fortune. We could go Hydra for the face as extra cold, but it wouldn't actually have. Oh! I almost forgot. Perfect Blasphemer. His smite aura is Giga. He's also not a beast, sadly. So those are already 2 perfect specters that we would want. Other than them, we are looking at, we can go Marionette for the Scorch. To be honest, we can do that. Eldritch Eye offers a purity aura that I don't really care about. Miscreation is a good one as well. The problem with Miscreation is it inflates DPS, but I will add it, but it inflates DPS on
Holy
PoB.
Relic uses perfect for his Tiger Draconic.
Yeah, and Baylor Mage has said it himself. He doesn't recommend Perfect Forest Tiger because of the price, because it's just marginally better than
price,
Carnage Chieftain.
I mean there was a Reddit post today that was like perfect Forest Tiger at home, and then they linked
Carnage Chieftain.
no, they linked
Judgmental Spirit is a consideration for discipline. It's a consideration. They linked what?
Huck, the Haystora.
Oh, from Atlas.
Yeah.
Lol. That's funny, actually. Perfect Warlord provides frenzy charges. No, endurance charges. Could be a source of endurance charges for us, but and for our other minions. But like we don't really need it. We're life stacking. They shouldn't be dying anyways. These 3 100%. Past them, I'm thinking we just go for the non-perfects, which means 2 frenzy monkeys or something for good uptime. I guess we could do 1 frenzy, 1 host. That'd be a way around it as well. But that's assuming 5 specters. Realistically, I could just aim for 4. If I go for 4 specters, then my chest doesn't have to be +1 specters. If my chest isn't +1 specters, then it's considerably cheaper to craft. I could, of course, go Cloak of Flame, but I kind of don't think I want to. I think for now, I'll just go Carnage Chieftain, to be honest, as the 4th Spectre. Out of everything here, the only beast we have is Carnage Chieftain. So I think that eliminates this as an ascendancy. Sadly, as much as I want this to be As much as I want to use this, it eliminates this as an ascendancy. It's just not feasible for me to do that. It just means we actually can't run action speed mods. But we will probably go primal raw because it's free damage. It's 80% increased minion damage. Why not? I have Warcry recently. It's a Warcry build. In the offhand, let's get our Warcries in. So non-negotiable enduring cry. No Warcry build is complete without it. Seismic cry, I think, because it's a big part of armor scaling. And the last guy I'm hoping is rallying cry, but realistically I could also go something like intimidating cry because I don't have movement speed coming from my belt anymore because of no mage blood. But intimidating cry I think is also just limited to like 30% movement speed or something like that. So I have to pick one. Yeah, this would be nice to have, seen as I'm probably skipping out on before we forget, we're going to need 2 links. Well, we need only 1 mastery. Actually, we need 2. We need we don't need 2. We need a defense mastery. Ugh. I don't like how far minion defense masteries are. Links to can target damageable minions. None of my minions are squishy, right? You don't create other minions. There's no Wretch Defiler or anything like that. There's no summoner. Alchemist creation, I think, summons potentially. I think I can't be wrong, but I think he summons. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to pick up twice as long to break. And I think I want to pick this up because it's more reservation. Aspect of the spider would be nice on this as a, it would be very nice on this setup, but so will skitterbots. But skitterbots are very expensive. Flesh and stone. No, I think I'm going to leave it as, I might leave it as is. I need to worry about mana regen already, so. Oh, that, okay, so that means clarity. And how many minions are we linking to? Feeding frenzy. Conductivity. I just realized I don't have my link. What link are we gonna use? We can use intuitive link. Or we can use flame link. I think I go flame link. There is no better link. I'm not touching destructive link with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, I think I just do flame link with more duration. That puts it at 22-second duration, which I guess will have to be enough. This 12 link becomes an 8 link, which has Feasting Fiends, I guess. It doesn't need Vicious Bites. It does want that. The reason we go for this is because I mean, we don't really need Feasting Fiends, but we'll take it. But anyways, we're going to need medium cluster jewels. And if I remember correctly, these give minion life. So there is a universe where we can go 35% effect, and then each one gives how much life? Oh, I don't have my calculator open. 12 times 1.35 is 16% life times 5. 80% life, give or take. 80% max life per medium cluster, which I guess is decent, but it's 5 points or 6 points, I guess. Or I could take Hulking Corpses, which is 25. Then go for (16 times 4), which is more. It's technically more life. Okay, let's do that. Hulking Corpses, but we're not actually giving them res is the one worry I have. They'll have all this other stuff, but like they wouldn't have chaos res, and that worries me. That kind of worries me. Anyways, Hulking Corpses, 35 effects. We can go for my res or minion res, and I think only my res is here, so we'd go for my fire res. Let me see something as well. Impossible Escape, the Agnostic. Find Timeless Jewel. Brute Elegant Hubris. with, I guess, Ostentation, maybe. Caspero, yeah. Filter 0. Axiom Warden. Weight is, we give it 10. Slumlords. Weight is also, I guess we'll give it 10 as well. Is it as important as life? No. We don't care about Slumlords, actually. No, we don't care about Slumlords. We don't care about, because like Slumlord is 80% damage, increased damage. 80% increased damage. We're trying to get a shit ton of armor, like a very stupid amount of armor. So I don't think we actually care. In which case, the most important thing is life, and fire res is somewhat important. We'll put it at a 4 or a 3. It's not that important. Mana reservation is more important, so we'll put it at like a 6. Eternal resilience is very important because then we can skip. We'll put this at the minimum weight of 3 and then make it like a 2. We want to have only one of them if possible. Then this should be the agnostic. I don't think there's anybody else that matters, if I'm being honest. I guess flask effect duration is really good as well. Like a 5. We can drop this, drop this, drop these two, and then pick up this and this and this. All right, now search. Endurance charge. Crits, avoid ailments, flask effect duration. I have to take it anyways. This can go. Voice shock is honestly not bad when paired with this. That'll give me storm shot, ailment immunity, and just a timeless draw. Remove that. These 2 points do nothing though, basically. Let's see, 130. What do you have? So we drop that. You have there, you have there. Nothing. How about I do this? I just pick up everything that I'm willing to path to. Mostly just 2 pointers, really. And then we search. There's also this guy. So there's 3 options, it looks like, so far. Oh shit, this is life. It's not bad. But not great. Armor, it's not bad. Good. Good. No. No. I mean, at this rate, there's barely a reason to even possible escape it with this guy. So what do we have here? We have double minion life, but it's not as convenient because the impossible escape is not as worth it. Let me see. What do I want to sell? How much are Valdos? I'll sell my apothecary. The reason being, shit is dropping in price.
We'll make it happen.
Let me make sure this is actually a good timeless show though. What do I get from my time? Endurance, I don't care about that. Max life. So I get endurance, life, and that's okay. It's not great though. I think it's just because I'm prioritizing other things that are not life. I would ideally like a triple life cluster if I can. So let's try this one more time. We'll pick up all of these. There really none. I don't want to spend 3 points on 80% life. I really don't. Are those all the 2 pointers we have? I think so. I don't think there's any that easy to access notables in our region, so let's just find this. What if we were to remove all of these? What is this one? Life, endurance, lightning, suppress. So those two are not great. Fire res is okay. Lightning damage is not great. Suppress, shock, obviously bad. Life. So it'd be triple life, fire res, endurance. Not bad.
It's a gilded wonder.
That's a lot of timeless jewels, my dude. Where am I going to start putting this shit? Here. So that gives me a lot of fire res, gives me endurance charge, gives me minion life, gives me more minion life, even more minion life, and then of course these two. I'd have wished to like utilize this a bit more, but I guess I could go for like 24% chance to suppress. Technically, if I wanted to. I don't want to. There's a spoiler alert to that. And then we can also go for some crit reduction from this mastery because we do pick it up. We still have this guy. He now has 500% increase. He has a lot of increased life. But why do I feel like his health isn't scaling all that much? I guess it's a level angle, right? 60k from 50k. Yeah, I think it's a level angle. We just need to level up the gem, which will come when I add gear. Because like right now we don't actually have gear on yet. So we're going to get levels from here. Not from here because this is Eternal Apple. Reduce crits. Weapon will get like +2. I'm thinking if I'm not going rallying cry, I'm undecided on a rallying cry, but if I don't go rallying cry, then it'd be a +2 wand. A +2 wand. What do I think by +2 wand? It will be a very healthy amount of life coming from the AG, which is a very healthy amount of increase of flat life, which will go a long way. Or alternatively, we would go for a lot of flat damage coming from rallying cry, which would then be, you know, probably a gavel like what we have. And I said that we wouldn't be going for another gavel, but that with increased minion damage. Do we even care about the increased minion damage? We just want as much flat as possible on this setup. So we wouldn't use increased minion damage. We'd use an essence until another increased fizz, so we can get even more flat fizz. But I think he's already at 900% increased, which is a lot. His attack speed is on the slower side. That's the one thing I wish I could reconcile. I would like him to have more attack speed. He has some leech. Wait, he has leech coming from his gloves. He doesn't need this leech, actually. We can save 2 points this way by dropping Feasting Fiends. Or maybe going Renewal. Either way. He already has a healthy amount of leech. Granites, quartz, jade, quicksilver. Do I go life regen? Do I stick to just relying on life regen, or do I go for a divine flask? Is the next question. That indeed is the next question. I think for now we decide to use a divine flask simply because of corrupted blood. I think that's the play. Where are my levels for minion skills going to come from without an All's Uprising? There's a few places it can come from. What do I think is best minion build for Guardian Ascendancy? Best minion build for Guardian Ascendancy. Some sort of aura stacker that doesn't care about reserving life with Prism Guardian, because he would like to use Prism Guardian for more auras. I would say it is not a Spectre build. Zombies come to mind as probably being one of the best because you can get leech on Guardian, you can reserve your life, and it's base phase, so you can properly utilize Unwavering Crusade. You're not limited to Spectre, only Spectres via the helmet. You can go for the full shebang and just strength stack. So I think zombies are probably the best. You go this into probably this. And then Giga Aura stack. Reserve your mana and your life. Any aura stacker though, so you could also use an AG setup, a carry AG setup, and go that route. That is also an option that's available. Increase fizz. So contempt until hybrid T1. And then craft trick. Well, you're going to craft can have. You're going to have can have. It's going to have minion attack, brother. It's going to have trigger. That gives a lot of the flat we need to convert. I hope this works. Yeah, it does work because I have hands of free shit. Okay. Quartz will get. What does quartz get? Probably regen. Movement speed, evasion, regen, ammo. We don't solve any permanent problems via this. We also don't. We already don't care about. We don't care about minion res. Not minion res. Early ailments because we have purity of elements. I think I might drop also uprising and go the reservation small cluster routes. The problem with going reservation small cluster routes is you're taking up spots that should be going to 35 effects. Probably like life. We'll just leave it at this. You're going dual sockets that realistically should be going for adorned. That is the problem with doing this. Anyways, why is this value much smaller than I expected it to be? At 287k armor, this is giving us 1,100, 8,900. Well, I guess at 59k life is the thing. At 60k life is only giving me 1,000. It's not making much sense to me, but this is something I'll figure out tomorrow. All right, where were we? I don't know why it's only giving 1,000. Oh, you know what it is? This is from the weapon itself. This is from the shield. Let's test something. Save this. $233. We'll go ahead. 11,825. Where? This is the same. This is the same. Is this it? No, this is the base times the increased and more / less. Oh, there it is. Life to armor. 2000 point this times 8, which is the increased armor and increased life together, times 2 equal 54k. So it's currently giving 54k. Okay. How much more max res can we also try to get? Would be the question. Would be a question to ask. Boots, we can get max fire res, which is nice. Body armor, we can get max auras, or we can get fizz taken as. We can get a very healthy amount of flat life, but like, I'm not liking this area. It's looking scanty. Not the biggest fan of this stretch, but I think I say this a lot when I make this area. Where can we get levels of minion skills? We can go for a unique body armor that has +2 to minions. That is always an option. Or we can go for the amulets. I think I'm inclined to believe I would much rather... Oh, another thing is this. That took away a decent chunk of my... this. I guess that being said, we do have a lot of tattoos we can get if we just pick this up. I'm gonna try going with Supreme Ostentation first and foremost. But anyways, this is going to take way longer than I have time for, so we're going to be ending the stream here. We're going to finish this PoB or continue working on it tomorrow. I think well, starting off, it should be a pretty fun setup if we can get the numbers right. I'm going to need to give it a lot of levels, I'm thinking, so that might honestly just end up being a replica Dragon Fangs. Actually, not replica, probably just a bone meld angle. Bone meld would give me increased defense and would give them 50 something res, as well as it doesn't give me res, but it gives my AG res. And if my AG has res, then we have damage. Not to mention he also gets a lot of life and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate y'all. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. But till then,